Hi, everybody. So I've been looking at the theses that you've turned in for your thesis assignment, and they're still having some problems making sure that your theses are going to be as specific as possible. So I brought up a sample of one of the theses that I got in, and I'm going to show where I think it could be more specific and show how I have restructured that so that the student could make it more specific. You may have something that looks very similar to this. I've done similar things on many of your theses, but I want to give this as an example, kind of explain what it is that I'm looking for you to do. So if you can see on your screen here, it says the author of the piano lesson uses the piano to represent strong resentment and hatred the family has towards slavery. You'll see that I put strong resentment and hatred the family had towards slavery in green. That's good to go, right? Because it's hard to be more specific than strong resentment and hatred that they have towards slavery, right? That's pretty specific. So with that part. However, when we continue on, it says, all while showing what each character's idea of letting go of the past is to them. You see how that's gotten very general. If nothing else, it says each character. Well, first of all, I don't know which characters we're talking about. There are a lot of characters in the play. I'm going to assume that this is Boy, Willie, and Bernice. That makes the most sense, but I'm not getting that here. And there's no reason for me not to get that here. You should try exactly what you mean. So if you find yourself talking about a character, name the character. Because then we're going more specifically what's going to be happening. I know in the example that I gave you, they say narrator, the one about the story Cathedral, and to clarify, the reason that that person said narrator is that character does not have a name. But in this play, everybody's got a name. And so it makes sense to say, let's talk about who those characters are. And then it says here their idea, what each character's idea of letting go of the past is to them. I'm like, well, what is each of their ideas about letting go of the past? Can we be specific? So here's what I've done. I've redone this thesis, and you can see where I've done that here. And I've taken a lot of the same words that the student has, and I've just kind of, you'll also notice that I've turned it into two sentences. Realize that you do not have to have only one sentence for your thesis. It's possible to have two, and that might make it easier to include all of the specific information that you need. So I say here, the author uses the piano to the strong resentment and hatred the family has towards slave past, right? That's came directly from what we came before, had, as well as what each character of letting go of that past is, right? And, again, that from the previous sentence as well. And then I say, Boy Willie's idea is blank. And I put a blank there because the student needs to fill that in. That is, you have to tell me what the big idea is. Right? So Boy Willie's idea of letting go of the past is, however, Bernice's idea is, and then I put another blank here. So the idea is, you need to tell me exactly what that is, and you can see that the student do that. Before, they're just saying characters letting go of the past is to them, and I revised that to say, well, Boy, we have letting go is blank, and however, Bernice's idea is blank. So try to fill in those kind of details. I know a lot of times we don't want to do that as well. There are two reasons. One, we feel that if we give students will sometimes tell me, if I tell you exactly what I'm going to talk about in the thesis, then I don't have anything to talk about for the rest of my essay, which, as we've talked about, is completely not true, because what you're doing for the rest of your essay is providing evidence to support that thesis. The other reason we might give, or the other reason we might not do it, is that it's hard to figure out exactly what those things are. What is Boy Willie's idea of letting go? Right? What does that mean for him? What is Bernice's idea about letting go? Those might be hard things to come up with, but that's exactly what makes them a good thesis, because your thesis needs to be something that is somewhat hard to come up with. This is your particular idea of what the play as a whole means, and so it is a little bit complicated. but that is something you're going to have. And once you have the thesis, the good news is once you have that thesis, the thesis is on some level the hardest part. Once you have it, then you know what to do for the rest of your essay. That is, all you're going to do is provide evidence to support that thesis. So for this thesis, we're going to have a paragraph or two. We're going to explain how we know Boy Willie's idea of letting go is, right? Where is it that we see that? What is the specific evidence from text that show us what Boy Willie's idea of letting go is? And then we'll have another section where we can talk about, oh, and this is what Bernice's idea is. So I'm going to post this. I'll post this in Blackboard in the thesis folder, so you can look at this again and review the comments that I made on your specific thesis, and that'll give you a good sense of how you're supposed to be revising your thesis for the outline assignment. And again, as always, if you have any questions, remember to email.